Our story begins when Heihachi Mishima throws his son Kazuya off a cliff. Heihachi is the head of the Mishima Zaibatsu, and with his power and influence, he would create the first King of Iron Fist tournament to gather the strongest fighters for him to use in his plan for world domination. His son Kazuya would join the tournament, becoming its winner by beating Heihachi in the final stage. As an act of revenge, Kazuya throws Heihachi off a cliff the same way his father did to him years prior. Kazuya, being the only son of Heihachi, inherits the Mishima Zaibatsu, starting his own plan for world domination. 2 years after he threw his father off a cliff, Kazuya has grown in power after conquering Hokkaido to build his ideal independent nation. Kazuya hosts a second King of Iron Fist tournament where he would meet Jun Kazama, who he thought was kind of a badass. And oh look, Heihachi's back, and here to take revenge against Kazuya for throwing him off a cliff. Heihachi beats Kazuya, causing him to activate his devil form as a last resort. In the end, Heihachi still emerged victorious, and this time, instead of just throwing Kazuya off a cliff, he throws him into a volcano for good measure. Later, we find out that Jun's meeting with Kazuya left her pregante. Looks like they got busy. 15 years after Heihachi threw Kazuya into a volcano, he is once again the head of the Mishima Zaibatsu and continues his plan for world domination. After creating his own private army called the Tekken Force, Heihachi learns that his excavation site in Central America was annihilated after waking up Ogre, the god of fighting. Heihachi believes that capturing Ogre will give him the power he needs for world domination. Meanwhile, Ogre would target martial artists around the world, including King One and Jun Kazama, who would both be killed by Ogre. Before her death, Jun tells her son Jin to find his grandfather Heihachi. Following her death, part of Kazuya's devil soul is able to partially possess Jin now that he's no longer protected by Jun, branding Jin's arm in the process. After learning Kazuya has a son, Heihachi plans to use Jin as bait to draw out Ogre and trains him for the third King of the Iron Fist tournament. Jin enters the third tournament hoping to lure out Ogre in order to kill him and avenge his mother Jun. Jin manages to progress through the tournament, but Paul Phoenix managed to get to Ogre first. Paul was able to beat Ancient Ogre and left, thinking to have won the tournament. However, Ogre transformed into his final form, True Ogre, and the tournament continued without Paul realizing his L. In the end, Jin was able to beat True Ogre and become the true winner of the third King of Iron Fist tournament. Jin is shot by Heihachi since he was no longer useful to him. This causes the devil gene inherited from Kazuya to activate and revive Jin, attacking Heihachi, slamming him through the wall and throwing him off the building. Heihachi survives the fall as Devil Jin flies off into the distance. 2 years have passed since the last tournament. In that time, Heihachi discovered that he lacked the devil gene necessary to wield Ogre's true power, so he searches for Jin in order to take his devil gene. During his search, Heihachi discovered that Kazuya's body has been taken by a biotech company called G Corporation. Heihachi sent his Tekken forces to raid G Corporation in search of Kazuya's remains. Kazuya appeared out of nowhere and defeated all of the Tekken forces sent after him using a newly created body made by G Corp. Afterwards, Heihachi decided to host the fourth King of the Iron Fist tournament to lure out his son and grandson, knowing they both want revenge on him, with Jin wanting to destroy the Mishima bloodline and Kazuya just wanting to kill his dad. The tournament proceeds as planned, with both Jin and Kazuya progressing through the tournament to eventually face off. Before Kazuya and Jin could meet, Tekken Forces ambushes Jin and captures him while Heihachi goes to confront Kazuya. Heihachi beats Kazuya and leads him into the Hanmaru temple where Jin is being held. Upon seeing Jin, Kazuya gets possessed by Devil and blasts Heihachi as he tries to steal Jin's powers, but his Kazama blood protects Jin from Devil. Afterwards, Kazuya overpowers Devil and plans to steal Jin's power for his own. Jin wakes up to free himself right before he fights Kazuya. Jin beats Kazuya, and impressed by his power, Heihachi challenges Jin only to also be defeated by him. Jin relents in killing Heihachi after remembering his mother's teachings. He then tells Heihachi to thank Jun Kazama before flying away through the ceiling, leaving behind his father and grandfather. Right after Jin leaves the temple, Heihachi and Kazuya are both attacked by several jacks sent by G Corporation. For the first time, Heihachi and Kazuya works together to fight off the jacks, until Kazuya grabs Heihachi from behind and throws him into a group of jacks right before leaving. The jacks grab a hold of Heihachi and one of them self-destructs, blowing up the entire temple, presumably killing Heihachi in the process. The explosion released Jinpachi Mishima, Heihachi's father, who trapped him under Hanmaru Temple decades ago. After he died from being trapped under the temple, a demonic spirit possessed Jinpachi's body, reviving him in the process. Jinpachi would then announce the 5th King of the Iron Fist tournament in hopes to find someone strong enough to kill him, along with the evil demon possessing him before it gets stronger. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Jin's devil gene causes him to lose control. Shortly after departing Hanmaru, he blacks out and wakes up in a destroyed forest, knowing that the damage was caused by his demon form. This leads to Jin having nightmares, causing his devil gene to activate. Realizing that he can't go on like this, Jin enters the tournament and makes his way to the final stage, where he meets his great-grandfather Jinpachi in his demon form. The demon seemed to be the one influencing Jin's devil gene, causing the evil inside him to manifest. Jin ends up beating Jinpachi, killing him in the process along with the demon. With the evil force banished, Jin becomes the winner of the 5th tournament and the new head of the Mishima Zaibatsu. After winning the last tournament, Jun Kazama quickly becomes an oppressive conqueror and goes to war on all the nations. Well, that was unexpected. This would throw the world into chaos with large-scale battles all across the world, including space colonies orbiting the Earth. Meanwhile, Jin's father Kazuya considers Jin's war to be an interference in his own goal for world domination. At this point, Kazuya is viewed as the only one capable of opposing Jin after taking over G Corporation and its private army. Meanwhile, Lars Alexanderson, a captain in the Tekken Force, started a rebellion against the Mishima Zaibatsu, creating an army called Yggdrasil in order to stop the Zaibatsu from causing any more chaos. During a raid in a Mishima lab, Lars discovered an android named Eliza Boskanovich. Afterwards, the lab gets attacked by a bunch of jacks. One of them explodes, killing everyone except Elisa and Lars, who now suffers from amnesia as a result of the blast. Lars later meets with his lieutenant Togo, who instructs Lars to find Heihachi Mishima. Lars and Elisa eventually acquire a lead on Heihachi and is able to face him in combat. Lars beats Heihachi and his memory somehow returns. Well, that's convenient, prompting him to remember that he's Heihachi's illegitimate son. Lars goes all gangster and shoots Heihachi, but he catches the bullet with his mouth. They're both interrupted by a phone call from Togo, causing Lars to back off and leave Heihachi. Lars and Elisa heads to the Zaibatsu Central Tower and are met by Jin and Nina. Jin and Lars battle each other, ending in a draw. As Jin walks away, he tells Elisa to deactivate safe mode and reboot. Elisa goes full robot mode and attacks Lars. Before leaving, Jin reveals that Elisa was created to serve him, forcing Lars to fight Elisa. Elisa retreats after being beaten right before Raven arrives to inform Lars that he knows where Jin is going next. Lars agrees and they both go to an abandoned temple in the middle of a desert that is said to be the home of the ancient demon Azazel. Lars and Raven discovers Kazuya in the temple, which prompts Lars to battle Kazuya to a draw. Kazuya discovers that Lars is his half-brother. Enraged by another Mishima, Kazuya leaves after telling Lars about the fate of the Mishimas. Later, Lars and Raven discovers Azazel and battles him, which causes Azazel to blow up. Jin appears as they exit the temple but is guarded by Elisa. Lars is forced to beat Elisa, causing her to revert back to her original personality before shutting down. Enraged, Lars challenges Jin to another battle, to which he finally beats Jin, forcing him to reveal his actual goal. He started the war to gather enough negative energy to awaken Azazel, the progenitor of the devil gene. Jin informs Lars that only someone who has the devil gene can slay Azazel, and believes that if he kills Azazel, the devil gene will be extinguished, saving both him and the world from its evil. Azazel then emerges from the ground, causing Jin to charge him, pushing himself and Azazel into an abyss, presumably killing them both. Later, Lars and Raven are traveling through the desert, wondering if Jin truly wanted things to end the way it did. Elisa is taken to Violet Systems, where Li Chaolan offers to repair her. Meanwhile, Raven finds Jin's unconscious body in the desert and contacts the UN. Heihachi returns to the Mishima Zaibatsu and retakes control. Later, while meditating at the Mishima Dojo, Akuma unexpectedly appears to kill Heihachi, only to be interrupted by Jack's 6 robots. They unite to take down the robots before Heihachi asks his name. Akuma introduces himself and explains that before her death, he was chosen by Heihachi's late wife, Kazumi Mishima, to eliminate Heihachi and Kazuya. Meanwhile, Kazuya is listening in on the conversation via the Jack 6 robots. Heihachi and Akuma clash once more, with Akuma supposedly killing Heihachi with a Go Hadoken. Akuma later arrives at the G Corporation building with the intention of killing Kazuya. Kazuya questions Akuma's knowledge of his mother, and he responds that he owes Kazumi because she once saved his life. During their battle, Kazuya is forced to transform into his demon form. Heihachi broadcasts Kazuya's transformation live before using an orbital laser to blow up the building. Kazuya survives, of course, and retaliates by blowing up the satellite. Meanwhile, Jin is being taken by the UN until his devil gene activates, blowing up the helicopter. Jin is then chased into a village by the UN soldiers before Lars shows up to save him. Meanwhile, Lee is able to repair Elisa, and they're both attacked by Tekken forces. Lee offers to take Elisa to Lars Lars and they both have a happy reunion, which is cut short when more Tekken forces led by Nina arrive to retrieve Jin. Right as they're about to take him, Lee somehow overtakes a chopper and tells everyone to evacuate before blowing up the base. They gather in the Violet Systems building where Lee introduces Lars to a journalist writing an article about the Mishima family. Lars tells the journalist that he's planning to use Jin's powers to stop the war. The journalist heads to the Mishima Zaibatsu, planning to expose them with his article. To his surprise, he is told that Heihachi Mishima wants to meet with him. Heihachi tells the journalist everything, how he and Kazumi first met, how they became rivals and eventually lovers, and how they both loved their son Kazuya when he was born. One day, Kazumi approached Heihachi and claimed that he would bring chaos to the world before attacking him. She transformed into a demon during the fight, which forced Heihachi to kill her by crushing her throat. Heihachi says he threw Kazuya off a cliff to find out whether he had demon powers as well. Afterwards, Heihachi had the journalist knocked out and sent her back to Lars. When they arrived back to Violet Systems, Lee's satellite broadcasted a video of Heihachi and Kazuya facing off in the middle of an erupting volcano. Heihachi confronts Kazuya to finally settle things once and for all. Heihachi would beat Kazuya, forcing him to transform into his devil form once again. Heihachi would smack the devil out of him, but in the end, Kazuya punches Heihachi so hard it stops his heart, finally killing his father. Continuing the cycle, Kazuya throws Heihachi into a volcano. At the very end, Lars, Lee, and Elisa learns that Kazuya is continuing the war and tells a recovered Jin that only he could stop Kazuya now. This leads us to Tekken 8, where Jin and Kazuya will face off one last time to finally end the cycle of hatred.
I can fix him.
No!
I can fix him.
No!
I can fix him.